This is Nick Soper here with Creative College Prep, and I am with Darnell Epps, the Senior Assistant Director of Admission and Coordinator of Multicultural Recruitment at Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania, one of the colleges that change lives. And we are going to dive right into this segment of Spotlight on Admissions. Darnell, I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about Allegheny and what do you find going on there these days that's most exciting?
So Allegheny College is a small residential liberal arts and sciences college with about 2,000 students. We are located in the city of Meadville, Pennsylvania. Meadville is in northwestern PA, just about 30 minutes south of Erie or an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. One of my favorite things is the unusual combinations. We require every student to do both a major and a minor here.
Love it.
And major and the minor must be in different academic areas. So you get things like a biochemistry major and a music minor, or maybe a psychology major and then art and technology minor. So every student will, be asked to be stretched, beyond, what might seem to make sense on the surface. In terms of excitement, just some excellent things are taking place in terms of research. I just attended a senior research symposium on last Thursday, I believe. And man, there have been students who are looking at integrating organized religion and healthcare plans, or they are looking at Alzheimer's in mice and using treatments of West African medications. So students are doing some pretty sophisticated things at the undergraduate level, prior to graduation. So pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great. And what kinds of things do you find yourself looking out for in applications that really helps you to determine, the right fit for Allegheny students or future Allegheny students?
Yeah. So along the same lines of that unusual combinations concept, I'm looking for students who aren't afraid to challenge themselves, for students that aren't afraid to think outside the box. Maybe they're a divergent thinker, or, maybe they go against the grain a little bit. So I think those types of students do well here. A student that's not afraid, to take a philosophy class and then, to go to a lab, or, that did the additional readings, or, had a conversation with a professor after class, about something that they found interesting. That to me exemplifies intellectual curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely looking for those things when I'm reviewing an application or when I'm meeting a student in person or at a high school.
So do you find that happens typically through the interactions that you're having with the student, or are there certain signals on the application themselves which help indicate the kinds of qualities that you just talked about?
I'll definitely say both.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a great thing when we can meet a student face to face. Again, maybe at a college fair, we'll begin a connection, or high school visit. The off-campus interviews are the best because we typically get about 30 to 40 minutes in which to talk. But that's not always a given. So sometimes a recommendation letter might give me some insight on a student's intellectual curiosity or engagement inside and outside of the classroom. Or maybe they'll write about something in their essay, that, kind of piques my interest. So it's not a given that I meet them face to face, but again, I could also look at a recommendation or an essay, or maybe a supplemental application that they submit about some original research.
Right. Great. And from your time working in admissions to date, do you have any particular stories that you like to share? What's your favorite story?
I was working at a university in Maryland, and we held an event for a community organization. And one of the students, he was a senior in high school at the time, he was one of the keynote speakers. Mm-hmm. And I remember the vice president of enrollment being particularly impressed, with this student. And during the college fair portion, after the community event, he came up to my table, introduced himself, and I remember just thinking there's something special about the student. So he later applied, and there were some, questions, to put it lightly, on his transcript.
Ooh.
So he had definitely had some academic, bumps along the way, but his teachers had such phenomenal things to say, and he had such a passion and a desire for learning. And I remember it being pretty difficult, during the admissions committee. All signs would just say, no, I don't really think he's one that, you should admit. But there was just something that, I felt really strongly about this student. So actually ended up, doing an extensive write-up, met with the vice president for enrollment, called his English teacher, and,
Wow.
he was actually admitted to the university. And moreover, he received a grant that pretty much, enabled him, to come, from the state of Maryland. So that's probably one of my favorite stories. And I got to follow him, during his time at the university and, see him grow and flourish. Yeah, so that sticks out in my mind.
That's great.
It doesn't always work out, but this one happened too. So.
Sure. Do you know what he's doing now?
Oh man, I think he's still involved with some pretty amazing things in the governmental realm down in the city, doing things with advocacy and working with youth. So I'm really excited for him. I'm not surprised. Really glad, that he's taking what he's learned and doing some great things.
Sure. And last question for the day, what advice, encouragement, or words of caution do you have for families as they are gearing up to apply?
Yeah. I would say for the students especially to work from the inside out. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but I really encourage students just to take some time to really ask themselves the questions, why am I going to college? What do I hope to get out of this experience? What are some of my core values? What am I passionate about? And it's okay if they don't have all the answers, but by asking themselves these questions and, getting to know themselves a little bit better, I feel like certain institutions are going to be a better match than others based on, what that student knows about themselves or, the people that surround them. Places that they think they'd be a good match. So I definitely encourage, again, kind of take a self-assessment, think about those things that are important to them, and then research schools with, again, similar values, their mission statement. They align with, you as a person or where you are on your journey. Because I'm definitely a believer that every school has a different feel based on the people that, make up that institution. And so that's not to say that you are going to be completely comfortable everywhere, but I think there's something to be said about going to a place that has the same mission, that has the same goals and values, as you do. So I definitely say, again, work from the inside out, going through the college search process. And again, that's okay if, that might change in a couple of months, but I think that's important work, for the students and families to do.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. So with that, we are going to wrap things up for the day. I'm so glad we got a chance to hear from you, Darnell, and to learn a little bit more about Allegheny. For families who are watching who want to learn a little bit more, are there any resources in particular that you would recommend to them?
Absolutely. So we've done lots of work, on our website. So feel free to visit us, allegheny.edu. There's a counselor page where you can find your admissions counselor, and we'd be more than happy to connect with you one-on-one. Via Skype, phone call, email. Definitely feel free to utilize us as a resource.
Fantastic. Well, Darnell, thanks for joining me, and students and families, thank you so much for joining us. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, leave some comments if that's your thing, and come back soon for more on how to get creative on your path to college. Nick Soper, Darnell Epps, signing off.